Hello, everybody. It is the 16th of September, and we're probably nearly a month late. So we've probably got questions for Chen that came in back in August, and we've been mighty busy. So Jayne's going to get told off again, no doubt, as soon as Chen comes in. But it should be quite funny for the rest of us to listen to. And we've got 5 questions to go through. So we're kind of back in the game. And we do, I know we say it every time, we do plan to make these more regular. And we're going to try and do them every 2 weeks. Are we not?
Yes, we'll try.
We're going to try. That's all we can do. We can try our best. So anyway, without any further ado, so to speak, we'll hand over to Chen, and then Jayne can speak to him.
Negotiate the questions.
Negotiate the questions, which is sat in front of us on a different laptop that you can't see. If a dog barks, he's sat on the sofa, so just disregard him because he's bound to bark as soon as
You probably
Chen
will.
appears and we start talking.
Yeah.
Anyway, I will hand over. Good day to you, my dear.
Hello, Chen.
And hello to the audience.
Yes, how are you?
Late. Remarkably late.
Remarkably late.
I think this time.
Yes.
I do believe the last time we had a conversation, my dear, we thought we could probably make this a little bit more regular.
Yes, we did. Yes, I do apologise.
Yes, I do appreciate you both being very busy.
Yes. Well, there's been a few things, hasn't there?
There's always a few things.
Yes, there is.
It's
Yes.
part of human life that things come up and things disengage you from some of the things that are or could be part of your priorities. So obviously that's your knuckles wrapped again.
Yes.
And we
Yes.
won't go on and on because of course that wouldn't do at all.
There's no point, is there really?
No. And we're here now.
The time's already gone, hasn't it?
Time never actually came, really.
Well, no, for you, and time isn't. It's not about time for you, is it? Really?
No, not from my
No.
perspective. It's not about trying to get the right information to the right people. And of course, when we have an audience that we're connecting with and talking to, oh dear.
Oh.
I was expecting this to happen.
Right, we'll maybe start again with the questions. If I
Might
just
have to be an edit.
yes, just no, come back. No, come back. Good boy, come back. Come on. It's hedgehog time, Chen. That's the problem. Come on,
Yes, of
Bert.
course.
Come on in here. Come on.
Oh, his job is to look after the property, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yes,
So he's doing his job, and
Yeah.
rightfully so.
and I don't think he's going to stop.
No, of
So
course not.
okay, right. Must. Oh. Shh. Go sit in there. Go on. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy. You stay.
I'm watching with
I
much
think he's going to
amusement.
be a nuisance. Yes.
Yes,
The thing is, he bites.
yes, of course. He has teeth, very sharp teeth.
Very sharp teeth, and he likes to sink it into fingers when he's annoyed.
Yes. Well, canines have sharp teeth by design, generally.
Yes. Right, Bert, come back. You're not going out. Go to sleep. Right. Okay, so that's going to be a big edit, isn't it?
Or not, because people might find it quite amusing.
Right.
This, of course, is reality.
Yes.
This is the reality of everyone's jobs, and especially when you're trying to work from home, as you two both are,
Yes.
then of course you have the interruptions that come in with these types of problems.
Yes. Yes, and that's why it's this time of night. I don't know why we didn't think about it really, but I think he's going to go to sleep now.
Yeah,
So we'll try again.
perhaps I'll encourage him to sleep.
Yes, please. Let's give him a nice little sedative for half an hour or so. He looks like he's going to bark again. Right, we'll start with question number 1.
Yeah.
And we'll see if we can get through it. Question number 1 is from Alireza Saeed. I
Very
think.
well
Sorry
pronounced,
if
my
I
dear.
pronounced it wrong.
I think that was jolly good.
Okay. Hello, Chen. I really would like to know, does psychology work? Am I wasting my time studying it and connecting it to psychic surgery and trying to convince people? Thank you.
Yes, a very interesting question.
I thought so.
Yes. So, I mean, obviously, psychology is a wide subject. It's a subject that, of course, we could talk about here at quite some depth and quite some length to a certain degree. So, of course, anyone that studies the psychological aspects of anything, whether it be the human being or animals, etc., you're going to move into areas of why people do things and basically how the programs work. So if you look at humans are designed basically with different aspects of their psychology. and their psychology primarily is to stay alive. So each human being in their psychology has the main function is to spend another day on the planet. And this is why you see people that are near to death or about to pass will cling on to life as much as they can. They'll do anything they possibly can. So psychology is very interesting. And of course, psychology for different people means different things. So to answer the question, really, if this person is looking to perform psychic surgery, the way that we perform that, of course, in Andrew's particular version, is that he provides a channel for the energies of myself, Chen, to come in, basically take over the physicality, work through and connect to the etheric field of the person that we're working on. And then myself and part of my team will perform spiritual or surgical operations on the etheric field. So this doesn't need any interaction from the person or the energy you know as Andrew, of course.
Yeah.
So the two things don't really need to be connected in any particular way. But for you to be working in this field, as you myself would understand, my dear, quite inherently, you're dealing with people, and people are quite challenging at times and quite difficult, and people that are in pain and people that are going through trauma are going to reach out, and they're going to have different facets of their personality which you have to engage with.
Yes.
And of course, this can become quite difficult. And especially in your own experience, I'm sure when you do this every day, you have so many people to talk to every day, overlaying the understanding of what they're going through from a psychological perspective should help you to do your job.
Yes, it does. Yes.
So psychology is intricately linked, really, to the type of work that we're actually talking about and the work that we're actually watching. So I think those two things work together very well.
They are linked. Yes. Yes. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for that. I hope that answers your question. Michelle Long says, happy day to you, Chen. What I want to know is this. What is the difference between a soul guide and a spirit team? Or are they both the same? Thank you, Chen. Sending you much love.
Yes, but essentially they're both the same, just different terminology. Again, different people, different cultures have different words, different terminology for different things. But certainly in your country, young Jayne, we talk about spirit guides. So I call myself a spirit guide in the United Kingdom, and this is what people understand. But certainly in other parts of the world, people talk about soul guides or soul teams.
Lara calls you a soul guide, doesn't she?
So just different names for the same thing, really. But in terms of the spirit teams, obviously we work with huge numbers of other energies and entities. So when we perform clearings on people, we perform spirit release therapy and the type of healing and psychic surgery that we do as our team ourselves, including you, my dear, of course, then effectively we're working with lots of other energies and entities. So that team can be called all sorts of things. We just call them, or I just call them, obviously, our team in spirit, or my team in spirit, because effectively it's a group of different energies and entities that have a collective goal and have a collective way of doing things from a positive perspective.
Yes. Okay, so you're obviously Andy's spirit guide, soul guide, but the spirit team, they're not, are they?
No,
it's just yourself.
So so upon his incarnation into this particular life, he essentially, or we essentially agreed to work together from birth, basically. But I didn't actually make myself clear to him for quite some time.
No.
As you know, my dear, the encounter that you both had at the start of your meeting was effectively the turning on point from my perspective to start to connect and engage with him.
But there was another spirit guide, wasn't there?
Yes, he had Miranda.
Miranda, yes. Do you work with Miranda?
Miranda's still in the background.
Is she? That's interesting.
Yes, she was part of his emotional progress. So part of her job for young Andrew was to help him understand the concepts of emotion and to work through and control his emotional state.
Oh, that's interesting.
And as you might remember, my dear, that was challenging.
Oh, well done, Miranda.
Yes, so she did very well. And of course, her job was to get him to a point that I could then take over effectively.
I see.
Because of course, for the work that we do, obviously I need a very flat and level energetic platform to work from.
Yes.
Not one that's going up and down with different emotional states and such like. And that's what you now see, I'm sure, living with him.
Yeah, definitely.
It must appear very flat.
We had this conversation, flat. We had this conversation with Ollie actually the other day when he was here on Friday, and he was saying how, you know, how placid Dad is, and, you know, even tempered, and
Yes, well, it's taken some work on both
Yeah.
sides of the fence.
Yes. So was Miranda human?
No,
No. Okay.
I think you probably know her background.
Okay. Yes. It's quite a long time ago, wasn't it?
Yes, yeah, but she
Yeah.
was not human.
No. Okay. Okay. And that's all you've got to say on the matter, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. But thank you. I hope that answers your question, Michelle. Okay. Sarah Chappell says, "Hi, Chen. I was following medical medium information, and according to Palladian research, a lot of what he said wasn't right for us. He had ways which you fix cavities using foods. Are there truly ways in which we can naturally repair our teeth? If so, could you please share it with us?" Interesting question, I thought, actually. It's not something I'd ever have thought about.
Yes, it is an interesting question.
Yes.
So the question, so in summary, is can you use other things apart from general dentistry, basically,
Yes.
to repair teeth?
Yes.
So we look at the construction of a tooth. It's obviously basically a hard enamel shell made up with calcium and obviously other things. So you'd have to try and change the structure, but in any way using something other than man-made materials. So effectively, essentially, I wouldn't say that it's possible to change it using food personally,
Okay.
because the food's got a
Breaks down, doesn't it?
yes, it has a chemical and anatomical structure, and you'd have to try to align that, amalgamate it into the chemical composition of a tooth.
Yes,
And
I
the
mean,
two
it's not
things are
going to
different.
work.
Yes.
Yes, and generally speaking, quite a lot of foods are causing cavities, aren't they?
Sugar is the biggest problem, of course, and
Yeah.
sugar is in everything you eat and drink.
Yes.
Because essentially it's obviously a toxic poison, basically. But of course, it does make things taste nice.
Yes, it does.
And
Yes.
of course, it also makes things that are essentially very bad for you taste very good for you.
Yeah.
Which of course is why it's used by many of the food manufacturing corporations.
Yes. Interesting. Okay, well, I hope that helps. The dog's about to bark again, I do fear.
There is a
If it makes you jump in a minute.
There is a very spiky thing outside, I think you'll
I
find.
think the hedgehog is about, yes.
Yes.
Okay, next question. Lupe Dolores says, "My question is, does psychic surgery work on people if they don't believe it's working? Will multiple sessions help them, even if they don't believe in it, or will believing in it factor the healing as well? My father is a non-believer, and I got him a psychic surgery hoping it will help his knees, as he has bone on bone. And I'm wondering if psychic surgery will help him, even if he doesn't believe it is. Thank you, Chen." This is something that comes up nearly every day in emails that I reply to, so I thought it'd be a good one to.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
Yes.
Conversation.
Yeah.
So again, if we take a step backwards to start with, so we obviously perform psychic surgery. So psychic surgery is basically a spiritual operation, a spiritual surgery performed on the etheric field of somebody by a spirit team. And obviously lots of other people perform psychic surgery other than just myself and young Andrew. Obviously, young Jono does the same thing with his guide Whitehawk. So basically, there's lots of people, and psychic surgery is a terminology, again, it's wording. But if you look back in history, you can see that lots of other healers and people, some hands-on and some remote, do the same type of thing. So to answer the question, the recipient doesn't need to believe anything really, because of course the actual work is happening on their etheric field. So whether they believe it or not wouldn't change the outcome that's actually happening.
The effect, yeah.
But of course, like everything, people can be resistant to things. So it would be one thing for someone not to know a spiritual psychic surgery operation was taking place and for it to be to make positive change to them. It would be another thing for someone not to want to accept that type of vibration healing into their field, in which case they would probably push it outwards.
Okay, so when you ask their higher self at the start of the clearing and they come back and say yes, would they at that point say no if their client wasn't going to accept it?
Yes. So most people, if it's a positive change, then the higher self nearly always agrees.
Yes,
of course.
always in our all the ones that you've done with Andy.
Yes, and also when we perform
experience.
spirit release therapy, the same check happens. So again,
Yeah.
the check is to the higher self of the client, the person that's having the work done, to make sure they agree to it and accept from a professional perspective, if you like, from the healer that's performing the work. So it's the right thing to do to actually get the agreement and acceptance from the higher self.
Yes.
But then, of course, we can look at, if we take a person that's very old, whose bones have degenerated, on the other side of the coin, of course, psychic surgery isn't magic. So if you take someone who has, a broken leg, psychic surgery isn't going to repair that, of course.
No.
So there's certain things psychic surgery is good for.
Yeah.
Certainly spiritual problems, lots of the diverse things that we talk about in terms of attachments, entities, curses, portals, all of those sorts of things.
And of course, all those things actually cause physical problems too, don't they?
Yes, of course. Yes, but in terms of when we talk about bones and joints that are worn out, then of course, when we perform psychic surgery, we're not able to replace the ligaments and some of the internal structures of someone's bone effectively.
No.
We can change the vibration and we can move things away slightly, and we can do all sorts of very good things from that perspective. But we're not, psychic surgery isn't really something that you would use to replace cartilage and ligaments that have basically degenerated or are not there at all.
Bone, yeah. Okay.
But what psychic surgery can do very well is things like pain relief. So people that are in pain, and you know yourself, my dear, quite often we help you.
Yes.
And I'm sure you can respond that you feel that change and that reduction in pain quite quickly.
Yes, it does very quickly. Yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
So hopefully that covers the range of that conversation. So psychic surgery, like everything, is good for some things, not so good for other things.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Which also actually brings me to another question, not particularly about psychic surgery, but about asking the higher self. So for people that don't know that they're actually going to receive SRT or help in some way, do they? Sorry, we're going to have to edit that.
All right, my dear, you've lost your train of thought there for a second.
Train of thought.
Yes, of course.
I know it's gone. It's gone entirely. That's the menopause for you.
Yes, that's a good example.
Oh, do you know it's gone?
We must show that.
Oh, can we?
Yes, I think it's very good. It shows that you're a real person, my dear.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, I like these things.
Oh dear. I was going to ask why sometimes it doesn't, it takes more than one session to actually work, whereas another person, it takes only the one session. It'll come back to me in a minute, Chen.
Yeah, so everything is vibration, of course. So if you look at one person or two people that present with the same problem, energetically will be very different. So we could perform a spiritual operation, a psychic surgery session on one person, and you could see benefits the next day, almost like an instantaneous response in a positive way.
And we get a lot of feedback that way.
Yes. And then other people that have exactly the same problem, but their vibration's different, their mental structures are different, their thought form is different, they're in a very negative place in themselves. The same spiritual operation doesn't present the same results, basically, in the same way. And of course, this is quite difficult from our perspective, because, as I say, this isn't really magic. So we never know how well things are going to work and it's the same with people that are hearing voices. We detach and remove entities and discarnate spirits that are attached that person's hearing, but we don't know to what level the actual physical person will hear or see the change. Some people, the voices go completely altogether. If that person is slightly psychic and they still have telepathy engaged and turned on, they may hear voices, but small numbers in a very background, reduced volume level. But then, of course, they're effectively spiritually psychic people. So you'd expect them to be able to hear things if telepathy was engaged.
Yes.
And this is the thing. So, of course, these people that still hear voices after we've performed a session, compared to those that hear nothing at all, would normally present to us that they are obviously psychic and they've probably done substance that's engaged telepathy, so they can hear other energies and entities.
Yes.
And for those people, they just need to learn to, or learn the techniques to protect themselves and close themselves down. And then those distant voices would obviously be diminished completely.
Yeah, I quite often point to somebody at the protection course in those situations. And I've remembered what else I was going to ask you as well. So if somebody that doesn't know they're actually going to have the clearing, they wouldn't actually be following the 10 steps afterwards, would they, to help themselves remain sovereign? So, of course, that then also could be a hindrance, couldn't it?
Yes, and that, of course, is a problem. So for some people that wouldn't elect to have this type of work completed on them in the first place, then booking them a session is obviously a positive thing, and it could yield positive results. But then, of course, they're unlikely to follow up the aftercare.
Yes.
And for some people, again, the aftercare isn't required. For some people, it is.
Yeah.
So this is where things can become quite tricky, even from our perspective, because we never know exactly what level of healing we expect to see.
No, and also what their lifestyle is as well. We don't know anything about the client at all, do we? And that must have a big bearing on the measure of success, really.
Yes, of course. Yeah, so anyone that's slightly spiritual, that's thinking about protection, that visualizes themselves in protective bubbles, have been on some type of spiritual protection course, is obviously going to fare a lot better than someone that isn't understanding and doing any of those things. And of course, if people have got problems because of substance abuse, and substance is a huge problem really in this field, because it breaks down the etheric field and therefore causes most of the problems. So if that person after their session continues to do substance and to do drugs and such like, then of course there's only a small window of opportunity before the problems come back again.
Yes, well, it's difficult to control your mind, I would imagine, in those situations.
Yes, and of course, if they're not of right mind and they're having some sort of drug-induced hypnotic experience, then they're likely to be connected with negative things that will take advantage of them.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for answering my questions.
You're welcome, my dear,
even
for
the one I
remembering
forgot
in the end.
Yes.
Yes, I'm sure people will chuckle to themselves, especially ladies of your age.
Sorry about that. Okay, our final question is Amanda Stevens. Hello, Chen. I want to make a protective doormat for my home to keep negative entities out. I was thinking of putting a symbol such as the flower of life on it. Is there something I will also write on the mat as well that might be helpful?
Yes, interesting.
I like this, yes.
Yes, you could actually probably create a little business making these sorts of things. So to start with, of course, having an entry, a doorway entry. So if you don't have a solid substance, as in there's no brick wall, when you open a door and people walk through, then of course whatever's attached to them and with them spiritually comes through too, which obviously makes sense. So to have some sort of spiritual protective symbol would be the obvious first thing.
Yes,
which obviously she's stating. So the flower of life is one of the most protective symbols, and that's why we use them in our products that we make.
Yes.
So all of the amulets, all of the pendants and such like that you make, the flower of life is always incorporated into the design because of the protective level. Obviously, from a writing perspective, the same thing. So if you wrote something on the underside of a doormat to say that the entry is rejected if you mean harm, or if you want to do harm, then of course that would have the same type of effect. So someone coming through the doorway would feel an energetic pushback if they were a salesman and they're trying to sell you something you don't want. So again, you're stating intentions, basically the same as you would say to someone, if someone knocks your door and you say, thank you for visiting me, what do you want? And they say, well, we've come to talk to you to sell you something. And you would say, well, is that for my highest good? And they might say, well, not really, no. Then it's the same thing. You'd reject them immediately and close the door. So having some of these written intention-based statements underneath, along with a flower of life, would provide an additional level of protection. And of course, also crystals. So crystals and things like shungite could be incorporated into the doormat. So you could glue crystals into the doormat or just put them underneath. Again, you can create a crystal grid. There's lots of things you can do with different crystals. Have vibrations, and of course the black ones are generally quite protective. So if you used onyx or jet or shungite, all of these things incorporated into a mat of some description would again increase that level of protection.
A bit of metal?
Well, obviously the other things that we make that we can't talk about.
Yes, that's what I was thinking, but not going to mention that word.
Yes, the pyramids would be particularly good each side of a doorway, because of course there's a vortex of energy that comes off them that pushes back negative things. And that's why, my dear, you might have noticed your house is very peaceful and quiet, and has been for quite some time. because of course it is adorned with many, many pyramids.
Many.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Well, you have a factory,
And a great big one in the garden.
effectively, yes.
Yes.
And you can see the effect that one has
Yes.
on the plants and the trees and such like around it.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Andy made an enormous one, which we've sort of hidden under the trees. And then he planted an elderflower tree next to it, and it's literally taken over.
Yes, what we
Literally.
could do, my dear, probably is we could take a picture of that, couldn't we? And
Yes.
show a picture of that particular tree
Yes.
that is very still in its infancy, but it's
It
huge.
doesn't look like it's in its infancy,
No.
does it?
And of course, this actually provides the proof of how that energy works, how you're
potent it is.
pulling in positive energy and rejecting and pushing away a negative energy.
Yes. Yes.
So from the young lady's question, there are lots of things you can do and of course this brings you into witchcraft and the witch teachings of old, when you'd actually have things like none shall pass, all those sorts of things on doorways, or when people were opened and knocked a doorway again back in time, you would actually have an incantation, you would say, that would basically only allow them through if they were positive and they didn't mean to do negative things to you and your family. So we're almost going back in time to the days of magic, because of course magic is coming back online because the frequency is changing.
Interesting.
Yes.
Yes, interesting. Okay, well, I hope that gives you a few hints, Amanda. I think that's a jolly good idea, actually. All those different things on a doormat.
I think Amanda could take the job of creating the doormat factory.
There you are. There's a job for you.
Another job. Yes.
If you want one.
I know 2 people that would buy them immediately.
Yes. Absolutely. Oh, okay. Well, that sort of sums up our questions. I will just check that was all. Yep. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you for your company.
Yes,
and
well,
your
I've enjoyed
patience
our
with
conversation.
me. Yeah.
That's okay, my dear. I've enjoyed watching you stumble around, which has been
Thank you for your patience.
Yes, I always enjoy these conversations.
Forgetful moments. Yes, yes. And me, thank you. And hopefully everybody else will enjoy it.
Yes,
well.
You'll like to know that forgetful moments only happen when you have a body and a brain. When you're back in spirit, you don't have forgetful moments.
No.
So all of you that are suffering with the menopause need not worry that when you take your last breath and you return back to your normal state in spirit, you won't have to worry about forgetfulness.
No, that's a good thing. It is a bit of a hindrance.
Yes, well, it's part of human life.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Yes, well, we'll say
lovely as always.
And bring young Andrew back. And obviously we'll try to make these more regular.
Yes. Okay, Chen, thank you. Love to you.
Good day, my dear.
Bye.